Okay, yes. He played around with us a little bit yesterday. Made it tricky. As you can see, this is a pretty messy job, but I promise it's not my fault. It's just ES being a bitch. So let's talk about that. Around here you're getting these clear breaks in structure. You're getting these nice broad movements, clear, clean runs. Happens all the way up until this point here when you get a piece of news, PPI. It misses expectations quite significantly, and then what happens? You just get a big wick, you get chop, you get a move, you get another move, and you just chop, 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 chop. Just the market digesting information that it wasn't expected. Um, so really, um, it's something to learn from, I suppose. It's definitely something I've now considered when you get news that breaks expectations or isn't aligned with expectations. Um, it's probably just a better idea just to sit out, to be honest, or look at different markets like Bitcoin or something like that. Um, Definitely something I'm journaling and taking forward. I don't like to pay too much attention to news, but I want to know if there's major news, that could be upsetting the stability of the market. And as you can see, you just go from this nice action into just craziness. So let's talk about it a little bit more. Um, so at this point, you've got this breaker structure here, then you break some more structure here, and you're just making that clear sign of an uptrend. You can clearly see that. So these become lows that we want to look to protect, and you can see wick, 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 they get protected, and then eventually they get broken. So at this point, I start entering my long positions that I was talking about because this is an area of interest for me. I've got a stop below there as my invalidation. This is a different account. I use a swing account for this, where I typically will have a limit set in areas where I believe there's a decent probability of a swing or just a decent trade. So I entered these positions down here below that liquidity I was talking about yesterday. Um, I didn't get my confirmation entry, and I had logged off my computer at the time, so I wasn't able to take any trades on Quantower, but it's all good. Um, I did make a little bit of a mistake here. I'll talk about that in a sec. But effectively, what we were looking at is this liquidity here. We then saw a decent move where you now start breaking the structure there, but it just runs into this supply here, which was a origin point of a breaker structure, because this technically is another little breaker structure here. I'm already making this even messier than it needs to be. But you can clearly see that these are lows that were protected and then they got broken, and this is a candle close. You then get a nice reversal. At that point, I was well settled down for the night, so I was taking some profits at these regions. I think you had some VWAPs around here. And then when it lost VWAP, it was pretty much a sign that the price had given up trying to go to the upside, to be honest. Look, you can see here, a big wick out of there, wick, 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 and then it eventually loses it, closes a couple of candles, and then it's gone. Goes back into that area of supply. If you look at this as an area where orders are sat, and if it's a valid level and it's going to hold, and if it's a good level, it will hold. So you can see here, you filled some orders, you get a good reaction. You filled some more orders, you get a lamer reaction. You then come deeper in to fill even more orders, and now you're getting the next reaction. So if we do come back down into these levels, I would expect that low to go. It's as simple as that. Imagine that this is like a block and it just gets like thinned out, or that's not a good example. Imagine it as like a wall, and like every time you hit it, it just gets like a crack in it. Do you know what I mean? So eventually that wall just weakens until eventually it breaks. It's a nice way to think about it, I suppose. Um, so yeah, at this point, I'm now looking for the market to show me that it wants to actually make a move in a certain direction, because I don't really want to have a bias either way, even though I will talk a little bit about that because I am tilted towards the upside. One being that we have held this low, and that we have got some other context that I will talk about in a sec. So what I'm looking for here, just on a low time frame, is I see this supply here, and I see this as potential demand. What I'm looking for is a break above these highs and a retrace back into these levels where I can get into long positions any around the zone, around the daily opens, or this ideally. You know, you want that sign. This is the most important thing. You want that sign that the market is trying to shift back up. So when it gets that retrace, you've got a much higher probability of being right, as opposed to just going long in these regions. If it was to come down now, and get a long here, this is a lot less likely because, excuse me, it's a lot less likely because the price hasn't actually shown you that it intends to move up. You know, market participants weren't able to actually break structure, so you've got a little turn there, and it would probably more than likely come and take those lows, in my opinion. I do have a slight bias to the upside, like I said, which I'll show you now. Apologies, I'm about to show you an even messier chart. So as you can see, we've just made a little rejection there. What was that? It was the previous day value area low. So as you can see, we've opened the days in CME and UTC outside the previous day's value area. You can see that there. There's the previous day value area. Just correct that. Must have been different on the 15-minute, but yeah, you can see that we've opened outside the value area. So if we do start breaking above, I've got a decent bias to the upside at that point. If we hold above 4518, 4519, around that region. You've also got the Asia highs there, but you do have some levels to get through. You've got a VWAP close, time point of control, where the price spent most of its day lining up with previous day point of control, which is also well off. Why is it so far off? Huh. Look how different it is on 15 minutes to the 5. Okay. I'm going to just keep that there. I'm going to keep it to the 5 for now. Never mind. Anyway, you've got previous day equilibrium, you've got previous day high, value area high. I think if you can get a decent move out of here, like I said before, you get that break, maybe you get a rejection at these points here, you get back into a nice area of demand, maybe the daily opens, and then I think we could probably, you know, you're holding the previous day value area low, you could probably be looking as high as here, maybe this high. So I think that's probably the only nice setup on the day. I wouldn't be expecting too much from it at the minute unless it shows you more intent. Yeah, it's just a tricky one at the minute. It's probably not the nicest thing to be trading with at the minute. It's, as you can see, this is just an area of supply and it's just unable to break through. London's been open for nearly an hour, so let's see if it gets a little reaction from here. Of course, we could break down. We are a high time frame resistance. If we do break down and we start breaking below these lows, because you can see we are in an internal bearish trend here. So if we do start breaking down, I think, you know, we're probably going to be looking at this area first. I'd definitely be looking at that area first. But you could even be looking as low as this area down here, 4438. You know, look how thin that is. This is pretty much your liquidity down here, but you've got a little bit of a stop gap before, boom, you know, there's nothing really in the way of this, so that could get fairly nasty. But let's see what happens. Again, it's always about just let the market show you what it wants to do and then make it move accordingly. Just a quick recap on yesterday's trade. Don't think I mentioned it, but I was looking at the New York initial balance being broken to the top. In future, I'm going to be waiting for a candle close above that because it seems to have just been a liquidity grab, and I was looking to long in this lower portion of the New York initial balance, and I eventually stopped out of there. Thankfully, I got in some longs there, so I made back up for the day. Ended up in the positives. That's the main thing. Wasn't the best day of all, but you know, it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, I was longing in this, but next time I'll be looking for closes above that for more confirmation. And if I do get a day where the news is quite well, if it's not aligned with expectations and you do get that sort of like, oh crap, what we do now in the market, then I'm probably more than likely going to sit out and go to different markets, you know, because you've got really nice trades to be had, like Bitcoin, for instance. This was areas I was looking at. that was a beautiful, beautiful area I was looking for as well. You can see that has absolutely smashed it. And at the minute, we're just tapping into this previous week high. So we'll see what happens from there. Maybe get a nice pullback on Bitcoin, some nice opportunities to look for longs. There's a bunch of stuff. So, you know, stay safe, let the market show you, and hopefully make some money. Good luck.